What was the true secret behind Rome's power? It wasn't just its legions. Egypt was a single province, one that Rome guarded with a terrifying rule. No senator could ever set foot there, because the man who controlled Egypt controlled the grain that fed the city of Rome for 4 months of the year. This is the story of how a conquered kingdom became the empire's beating heart and created a fusion of cultures you have to see to believe. Egypt, the province that owned Rome. The real power wasn't in the Forum, it was on the Nile. Find out why.
Welcome to Beautiful History, where every story is an adventure. From the sands of ancient Egypt to the bustling streets of modern cities, we uncover the mysteries, dramas, and wonders that shaped our world. Explore lost civilizations, epic battles, and legendary figures brought to life with passion and detail. Discover the journey of humanity from Egypt to the world. Subscribe now and let your adventure through time begin. This is Beautiful History.
Imagine standing on the sun-baked docks of Alexandria around the year 50 CE. Here, workers load sacks of wheat destined not for Egyptian tables, but for the very heart of the Roman world. For centuries, Egypt was Rome's breadbasket, a land of mythic fertility whose bounty fed the hungry ambitions of emperors. This story begins in 30 BCE. Cleopatra is gone, and Egypt becomes the personal province of Augustus.
Egypt is far too valuable to be left in the hands of senators. This province belongs to the emperor alone.
Augustus recognizes Egypt's singular value and forges a unique administration, appointing not a senator, but a prefect loyal only to the emperor. Here lay the vast grain fields, the annual flooding that guaranteed harvests, and the ancient structures that could be adapted, not replaced.
The political signal must be unmistakable. Egypt is mine to control.
And so began Rome's most crucial provincial relationship, one that would determine the fate of emperors and feed the ambitions of an empire. Beneath the prefect, a cadre of Roman and Greek officials maintain order, but perhaps the most significant local institution is the Idios Logos, headed by the Idios Logistes. While Rome draws tax from property, individuals, and commerce, Egypt's system is even more formidable. Land is meticulously measured. Farmers and landowners are registered in exhaustive cadastral rolls, their obligations calculated with precision. A level of precision that could only be found along the orderly, predictable Nile. Each summer, when the Nile receded, scribes fanned out through the villages, measuring plots and recording probable yields. This bureaucratic machine would become the foundation of Rome's most reliable source of wealth and power. But how did Rome reap Egypt's harvest? Tax collectors, often themselves locals, moved in with scales and tablets, assessing how much each estate owed. A combination of wheat, barley, beans, and coin. For the vast majority, taxes were paid directly in kind. Pyramids of grain deposited at government granaries. Roman officials managed the great state warehouses, ensuring enough wheat was set aside for Rome. Records show that on good years, enough wheat sailed from the Nile to feed the city of Rome for up to 4 months. An incredible feat, considering the city's population may have approached 1 million people. The emperor himself controlled this flow, and control over Egypt's grain was political power incarnate. This was nowhere more apparent than during the year of the 4 emperors, 68 to 69 CE. It started with the death of Emperor Nero in 68 CE, without naming an heir, which led to a power struggle and a period of significant turmoil. In June 68 CE, Galba was proclaimed emperor by his legions and recognized by the Senate. However, his unpopularity and choice of heir led to his assassination. The Praetorian Guard backed Otho, who seized power after Galba's death. Otho was later defeated by Vitellius's forces at the Battle of Cremona and committed suicide. Vitellius then became the third emperor, but his rule was challenged, and then arose the name of Vespasian, the governor of Judea. Tiberius Julius Alexander, the governor of Egypt, has to decide whom he will support.
I declare for Vespasian, Egypt's grain shall flow only to him.
When the governor of Egypt declared for Vespasian and locked down the grain supply, Vespasian gained a decisive edge.
With Egypt's grain, Rome cannot stand against me.
Cut Rome off from Egyptian grain, and emperors could rise or fall in a matter of weeks. Vespasian gained the support of the legions in the eastern provinces. He defeated Vitellius, who was eventually murdered, consolidating his own power and establishing the Flavian dynasty. But Egypt was more than fields and politics. It was a crucible of cultures. By the 2nd century CE, a vibrant fusion emerged, Roman in style, Egyptian in purpose. One famous example of this cultural fusion is the Fayum mummy portraits. These portraits were created in the first few centuries AD in the Fayum region. Egypt was then a Roman province, home to a mixed elite of Greeks, Romans, and native Egyptians. The people who commissioned these portraits were often Greco-Egyptians. They adopted Egyptian customs, but were culturally Greek, an identity that gave them higher status in the Roman imperial system. This blend is clear in the portrait's purpose and style. They served a deeply Egyptian religious function, preserving the body through mummification and providing a likeness for the soul for eternity. However, the artistic style was purely Greco-Roman, favoring a warts-and-all realism with lifelike shading and individual details, unlike the more stylized traditional Egyptian art. Greek, Coptic, Latin, and Demotic scripts jostled for space as cultures blended. Roman-style public baths stood next to ancient Egyptian chapels, and religious festivals folded traditions together. Without Egypt, Rome may never have ruled the world. And though empires rise and fall, the legacy of the breadbasket would echo through the ages.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more journeys through time.